I'm really pleased today to be joined in our series of She Means Business by Liz Jones from Conker. Liz has an interesting career where she has changed careers from advertising to become a female founder of Conker. Liz, do you want to tell us a little bit about the career change and how you started as a female founder?
Sure. So, as you say, I spent time in all parts of the media and marketing ecosystem on buy and sell side, latterly at an agency where I was an MD and then a CEO. And I found myself gravitating more and more to talent and people, and was very interested in how you can mobilize somebody and completely revitalize someone's career or a client's business. And so when I exited Dentsu, I knew that was the direction of travel for me, and set up Conker with my co-founder Darren Rubins, who'd had a similar career 6.5 years ago. So we're senior executive search firm, and we work with some of the world's most forward-thinking brands, Pinterest, Channel 4, Sky, The Guardian, Disney, to name a few. And I guess our premise is that we understand the jeopardy of making a critical senior hire. We understand that there's a significant cost, not just financial. And so our premise is that we've sat where you sit, and we can empathize, and we know how important it is to get it right. So when it really matters and it's about business critical transformation, companies are turning to us more and more.
Fantastic. And actually, you've talked about search and actually linked it to business transformation, because we forget that people are the bit that creates the transformation. What's been your greatest success on that journey?
I think setting up the business to begin with. I mean, it's as anyone will know who has gone out and done it on their own, it's quite a leap, and the highs are much higher and the lows are pretty low. But it has been building Conker from the ground up into a business that genuinely challenges the way senior hiring is done. So I'd say that we've built out over the years a proprietary suite of tools to underpin the process and to give more rigor and data to decision making, because instinct is all well and good, but to have actual data points to help bring a candidate alive and understand their motivations, obviously their capabilities and ability to do the role, but also whether they're going to thrive in the business. Because, in previous careers, I think we'll have all have seen people land in roles and they were a superstar where they were working before, and suddenly they're in a new environment and for whatever reason it doesn't quite work. And I think that's the piece that we're really keen to unpick for our clients, is really helping them understand motivations, cultural fit or culture add, as well as the core capabilities of the role, so that our candidates go in and then ring you up and say, that was the best thing I've ever done, thank you so much, but you've changed my life, words like that, language like that, which is what you want, because you've found them something that is helping them thrive and pushing them forward, as well as the business they've joined.
So that's really interesting that it's evidence-based and you're using tech. Explain a little bit, sorry for my ignorance, about how the tech gives you that evidence without obviously sharing any IP.
Yeah, happily. So we have 3 different tools. One which assesses personality fit, which is largely based on Myers-Briggs. So that is to understand your leadership style, Suzi. So it will tell you what you will, what people can expect from you as a leader. And there's different axes. I won't go into it in depth, but are you empowering, or are you more directive? Are you an extrovert, introvert? Are you a harmonizer or an agitator? So that's the first one. So that's sort of personality. Then there's cultural alignment. So that's a tool called Conker ID, and that really goes into people's personal motivations and works out whether the business that they're in or that they're looking at is going to align with what drives them personally. And obviously reward is a part of that, but we've unpicked and surfaced about 30 other motivators that are really important to people. Purpose, flexibility, proximity to where you live, the commute, all of that stuff. And the last part is around the capability. So there's a further tool which ensures that the person can importantly do the role that they're coming in to do.
Look, fascinating. I could talk about culture I think we'll have to have another She Means book about culture, because that actually is what drives an organization, and it's interesting how you measure it, but fascinating, and we'll have a further chat on that. And thinking, we've talked about successes. I don't like the word failure. For me, what's been your greatest learning from setting up this business?
So I think I've been really candid. I did see being made redundant as a failure at the time, but that is what has driven me to do this. And so actually, and we're seeing a lot of uncertainty in our marketplace at the moment. There's a lot of change, there's a lot of layoffs. And so the first thing I would say is that let that fuel you, because normally we see a lot of individuals who then go on to do something which is much more aligned to what they want to do. So definitely that I felt as a failure, but actually was a very pivotal moment in my career. But I think in terms of when I've reflected on what of the failures that I have made as a leader, ironically, I think it's probably hiring on to a hire for too long, the wrong hire for too long. I think if I ignored red flags, it was a key role. I let optimism override what I knew deep down, and that decision costs time, energy, trust. So I think it's taught me to act fast and ensure that the alignment is there, and not just hope that things are going to improve.
Fantastic. And on your 7.5 year journey, what has been that greatest bit of advice that you've received from someone that's really helped you?
So we're all about diversity at Conker in every sense of the word. I mean, diversity of experience as well as the more obvious metrics. But I think the best piece of advice I've ever received is that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And that's shifted how I think about leadership and growth and building a business. And so in the early days of Conker, like most founders, I wore every hat. I felt I had to know everything, be everywhere, do everything. But then I've realized that real growth happens when you surround yourself with people who can challenge you and stretch your thinking and bring a different lens to the table. And that's how we've built Conker. And that's how we encourage the businesses we work with, to build their teams. So whether it's our associate network, our ambassadors, mentors, Ned, we intentionally bring in people who are experts in their space, especially, and even if they know more than me. And I think that's how we've built out some of the tools we've built. It's they bring ideas and insights to the table that are not your own. And that's the true alchemy, I think, of business, is seeing diversity of thinking drive something forward and drive success and growth.
I love that. And I heard you talk about a Ned. So it appears you have a Ned. Okay, that actually is really brave in the environment I spend my life with entrepreneurs, and actually persuading them to have a Ned. What made you bring a Ned on board? And what's been the best bit about that Ned?
Well, I think it was realizing that, as you'll know, as fellow founders, you can go so deep, you can be so deep in your business that you literally can't see the wood for the trees. And sometimes somebody will come along who will just encourage you to look up, take a step back, and they will point out something that is so glaringly obvious, and you'll kick yourself, because having run a business, having been an MD or a CEO, it was stuff you did, day in, day out, and suddenly someone's suggesting you do something. You think, why on earth are we not already doing that? So that is what Naren, our Ned, does for us. He listens. He's in our business. He's not just sort of helicoptering in once a month for a nice lunch. He's in it, and he just advises and listens. And every now and again, he comes up with something which is absolutely gold for us. And it's having that trusted advisor. Darren and I are in it together all day long, but it's someone to encourage you to take a step back and look up, as I said, and think in a different way about the business when you're not down in the weeds of the craft.
And just out of interest for our listeners, did you know him already, or did you use a search firm to help you find him?
That's a really good question. He was known to us via the industry. I think, ironically, he was one of the first clients we went to see when we were sort of cold calling right in the beginning. He never used us, annoyingly, but so he was known to us, and he had, I guess, the appeal of him was the fact he had built and sold a business. He's very well regarded in our industry. And he does a lot of very great work around the charities in our industry, and actually he does a lot around diversity. So there were lots of different reasons why he had appeal. But when we approached him, we didn't know whether he would be up for it. But we're so very glad he's on board, and he's been great. And we've used other advisors. We're using a growth advisor at the moment. I think it is that taking those moments to think we need some fresh thinking. We don't know what we don't know, and I think that those investments, and they are investments, they have always paid off for us.
Fantastic. And just in terms of, when I talk to founders, often they say at the end, I wish I'd really known this, or someone had told me this earlier. What is that one thing that you wish someone had told you before you started on your female founder journey?
I think it's to feel the fear and do it anyway. Use that fear of failure, use that to just propel yourself forward. Use that as positive and kinetic energy to give you the confidence to go out there and do it. So I think it's fear can be quite a healthy attribute when you're starting out, because it is fear of failure ultimately, isn't it? There's no one paying me like they were 6.5 years ago. I'm not getting that check come in, and the pension and the this and the that. You are going out to sort of hunt and gather it yourself. So yeah, use the fear in a positive way.
Liz, absolutely fascinating to listen to your story, to listen to those points. Have an NED, be prepared to challenge, and actually be brave and manage the fear. So thank you very much. We look forward to watching the journey of Conker and you and your fellow founder over the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzi.